Hello friends, Jay the Silent Cartographer here, and my puppy just charged into the room as I hit the record button. Yes, Sarah, can I help you? Okay. Well, welcome to BAP number 11, map number 12 of the Daily Map series. I'm going to change this to 1920 by 1080 because I changed it to try something yesterday, but I never actually got around to it. And you guys are going to be proud of me because after yesterday, actually, I looked up a doctor, and right after this video, when it's a bit later in the day, because it's currently 7 a.m., I'm going to call that doctor. I think I'm going to make a doctor's appointment. But before we make any sort of doctor's appointment, the first thing we're going to make is a world map, big continent map. Oh, I kind of like that last one. If I undo, can I go back there? If I increase the water level, will it scale nicely? Oh, yeah. Huh. Alright, let's take this, let's grow that out, let's shrink that top into the water, let's clean up some of these islands down here so that they're not like that. Let's open up that channel, let's cut all that out, go to the eraser tool for this stuff because it's just kind of little garbage. And I actually, just because I am in the mood to try something out, I want to go to water, I want to go to water settings, I want to go to the land because I'm stupid, water texture, black and whites, water, water hue, completely desaturated, completely devalued. Okay, so it's kind of a very dark blue. It's funny because actually saturated it's red, but desaturated it's blue. So my question then would become, is there a way to get like a black? Because in my head I wanted to like a, ooh. Well, that answers that question. Yeah, there is kind of like a complete jet black darkness feature, but I actually kind of enjoy the paper here. So we're going to go back to water, we're going to go back to here. We're going to reduce that stain amount to 0 because I just kind of like that. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to shift the hue down to a bluish color instead of a purplish color. I think that looks pretty cool. Moving on to the land, we're going to go to the ground texture of... What ground texture do we want here? See, I'm not a fan of how stretched out the equirectangular looks. Kind of stretched around the globe. Sample, I joke about sample because if you turn it on for the water, it literally just says sample across the back of it. Doesn't really look that bad when you look at the ground texture. And then, of course, black and white will just give you a very solid white. Then we can do landmass outline of black, but in this case, we're actually going to go for a purple. Actually, what color even is this? It gets very gray blue. But still on that blue, so if we darken that up a little bit, sure. Coastline color, maybe we make that white. And we keep the alpha down just a little bit. Coastline style. We do a hatched pattern, and then well, we're not really going to mess with the vignette too much today. Coastal FX distance, though, we are going to mess with that a little bit. The outline blend down to 0. And, I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of this style of coastline. I'm not a fan of how this style of coastline interacts with most of the rest of the map. So I think we're going to actually go with... God, that is bright. We're going to go with the waves, just like that. Actually, we'll kick it out. We'll go to the coastline pattern, and we will drop the opacity all the way down. And that should give the effect that we're looking for here. Or if we drop that nice and low and we crank this back a little bit, still blinding, still horrendously white. So we're going to go ahead to our eraser tool for the land, and we're going to fix this island over here. Bye, puppy. We're going to fix this island over here. These islands are not going to take color very well, so let's simply just remove them. Although, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, if they're not going to take that well because they're so small, and we don't want to leave this giant open area over here with nothing in it, then maybe we can do something a little bit more. Something like that. And then suddenly we have a reason for that land to exist. We're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our eraser brush tool, and we're just going to clean up these edges, because right now they kind of look like crap. We'll fix that in a minute. You know what we can do? We can actually go to the Erase Land brush, and we can retrace this a little bit. Trick that I've used in almost every one of my maps is that trick with the using the Create Land brush to create a realistic outline. This is a bit too circular, a bit too spherical, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut into it a little bit, just like that. Just maybe some up there, but then we're getting into the same problem we had before, where if the area is too small, the coastal effects distance is screwy, so then we want to go to our brush tool, and we just kind of want to paint in all the stuff we missed. Would be a lot. Stuff here, 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 here. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of this shape right now as it is. I think that what it needs is a bit of intrigue. And I think that a bay, just like that, will be very nice. We maybe even raise this in so that the water effects that we have really shine in there. And, you know, maybe we make a little bit of a circle. Maybe we make a little bit of an island, and that island can be dark. Well, no, it can't, because something like that'll work just fine for what we are looking for. Anything else screwed up? We have this area over here, which we just need to kind of delete. This area over here, which we just kind of have to stuff down. This, and then now we're on the main continent. The main continent can be cleaned up fairly easily. This area over here is fine. This area over here is mostly fine. Just gonna cut that off so I don't have to come back later. This area over here is a bit of a problem. I think we're actually going to go to our add brush. We're just going to add that back in. Eraser brush, take that off. That's just part of the effects. And then this Nightmare of an Island over here is just going to get cleaned up just a touch. And then we're going to go back to our brush tool, paint that in. And there we go. We have our island. Now I think I'm actually going to do this island in my original style. My original style, of course, being that of mountains, trees, lakes, roads. I think I want this to be very, very mountainous land. First thing is, I usually, when I'm doing mountains, I do vertical mountains. But I think maybe today I'm going to try to experiment. You're going to have to apologize, or I'm going to have to apologize for the crow that is currently screaming out of my window. Ah, yes, we get it. That's what the window closed, by the way. One thing I dislike about living here is that my all of my windows, I have a couple of windows in my bedroom, and then I have one in my writing room, my office. A lot of my windows are right next to big trees. And so even though I'm on the second floor, I get some neighbors that do that all day. But I think some nice horizontal mountains would be very interesting as a concept. I know this is, when you're talking about theory and like map theory and geography and geology, this kind of stuff would probably, if we're thinking about this realistically, this would never happen. This large looming horizontal mountain range right below another horizontal mountain range, right below another one, right below another one, right below another one, and then this one, of course, we're gonna connect that like that, and then we're gonna have this one come all the way down. We're gonna leave a little bit of room for a port. I like ports, I like port cities. And we're gonna go ahead and just fill all that in just like that. Then we're going to come along here with another horizontal little bit of rock. We're going to leave a little bit of area open in the start. And see, just now, and I don't know why I have the itch, but I have the itch to make a dungeon map. So maybe I'll do a double daily map today. Maybe I'll really shirk my responsibilities because I have some stuff I need to do for my D&D campaign that I've been neglecting very much so. And part of that neglect is doing daily map when I should be writing a series of noble houses in the starting continent for my player characters to explore. Riveting stuff, truly. Although I was able to do some cool stuff with Xanathar's Guide to Everything, a supplement for D&D 5th edition that has it has a couple of roll tables in it that are specifically designed for player characters to help them design more interesting family lives, and I've taken that and I've kind of adapted it to the art of making NPCs, and so I randomly rolled race and how many kids they have and all that other stuff. So it's been fun to kind of roll some things that are random and then try to fit that within the narrative. And of course, when you're doing anything random, a great piece of life advice from, well, you know, I'm not really sure who said it, was if you ever, oops, there's GeForce Experience. Don't need to record my screen right now. Thank you, NVIDIA. Great piece of advice is if there's ever a decision you have to make that you're really not sure, you have a couple of options and you're really not sure which one you want to be the option you take. Grab a coin and flip it and tell yourself that if it lands on one side, you'll do one thing, and if it lands on the other side, you'll do the other thing. And then the trick is to not listen to the coin. The trick is to, when you're in the air, your mind will start dreading one of the options. And whatever option your mind starts to dread is the option you don't do. So, for example, if today I woke up and I flipped a coin and I said, today I'm going to make a daily map, but should I make a dungeon map or should I make a world map or a region map? And let's say I come up with a couple of ideas and I roll a d6. Before I roll that d6, I have an inkling of what I want to do. And while that d6 is rolling, I think to myself, oh, please don't land on dungeon map. I don't want to do that today. So I already know that one of my things is not what I wanted. So when I'm rolling random things for character sheets, instead of taking everything as gospel and trying to belt strap it or ratchet strap it onto my ideas, instead I kind of like it organically take shape. I think and I roll and it's like, well, would this person have 6 kids? Probably not. She's only 27. How could she have 6 children? I mean, it's possible, certainly, but it'd be very hard on her to do so. Maybe instead of 6 children, she has 6 siblings. Maybe that makes a bit more sense. But then on the other side of it, there are some that are really fun writing experiments. Like I rolled an NPC that was the leader of, these are 9 different noble leaders, noble lords in a republic. So they're all kind of on the Council of Lords or what have you. And one of them is an 87-year-old woman who is evil. I didn't roll chaotic, I didn't roll chaotic, lawful, or neutral. I did, however, roll just good, neutral, or evil, because I think that alignment is dictated by the character. The character is not dictated by their alignment. I think if you play the other way around, you're going to be frustrating yourself and the other players at the table. But anyway, so this woman turned out to be evil, and she had a 16-year-old son and a 42-year-old daughter. Her daughter was a halfling. Not a halfling, a half-born. She's a half-elf. And so, suddenly in my head, I'm thinking, evil grandma has a very inexplicable young child who's male in a republic where nobility is a blood right. And she's got an old half-daughter whose alignment I rolled just to see if I could get some inspiration, but in the middle of that roll I had one of those epiphanies of maybe I want this to be some way. I had her good. So you have an evil woman with a good half-daughter. Well, what does she need? She needs an heir. She needs somebody who's not this problematic daughter to come into the family and take the power, to take the barony or the area that she's controlling. Okay. But an 87-year-old woman can't really have a legitimate son. But what would be an evil thing to do? Well, you could kidnap one, but, I mean, I want something a bit more cartoonishly evil than that. And so the obvious answer, that child's a demon. She made a deal with the devil to get a kid. And that kid is also evil. The child is the puppet master in this situation. Um, and so that's like a super interesting whole region. 1/9 of my campaign setting is ruled by this crazy woman, her crazy young son, and she has this lovely half daughter who's a half elf, who would gladly help the party. And so there's this interesting theory going on there of like, oh well, what could that be? What stories could I tell with that? And the answer is I could tell tons of stories like that. I could tell tons and tons of stories. Maybe this woman is a warlock. She has a dark patron, and she's allowed that patron to take host in a child's body. She calls him her son. She calls him, yeah, she calls him her son. But in reality, she's actually a thrall to its machinations. And like, how would that play out? What an interesting character concept. What an interesting plot concept for a D&D campaign. And so, I mean, that's not what the plot's about, but I think it's even better that that's not what the plot's about. Because that's not what the plot's about. Is there a way to? Sorry, I'm off on a mad tangent here. Is there a way to permanently? Because this is a major tangent. These hills, if you look at them, I use them all the time. But this map, I don't know. I'm in the mood to actually do something a little bit more accurate. If you look, the shading on these mountains is on the left-hand side of the mountains, and if you look at the mountains we've been using, the shading is on the right-hand side of the mountains. So holding down Alt will place these foothills in a lovely way that will put them so that the shading is on the proper side. And so I want to put all of the hills on the other side, but I don't really want to hold down the Alt key for all of my button pushes. Sometimes that's just life. Let's get to work. But no, so I mean, like, what an interesting concept for a character, and that's just one of the things. I rolled a bunch of different races, realized I wanted most of these people to be human, so I changed most of them. But one of them, the ones that I got, was from the new D&D book that just came out. It was a satyr, a satyr. I don't exactly know the pronunciation of it, but I do know what it is. It's a beast person, not in the way that a furbolg is a beast person, but in the way that like almost a marriage of human and wild animal kind of beast person. And I felt like, whoa, how fun is that? A satyr, like a satyr. I'll just call it satyr from this point forward. Like a satyr, very manic, very giggly, bubbly, Feywild being has taken a great fancy in the politics of the world of men. And as such, maybe their territory, and I mean, I know this for a fact because it's a territory that I created. Their territory it's the only place in the entire republic that has access to water. And so she's created a port town in a world where nobody does any sailing. And she loves it. It's a carnival. She builds ships and she sends people out to sea to just have fun and experience the ocean. This has made fishing a viable source of income. And while, I mean, most people don't know anything about it, the ocean is this big, vast place to explore, and so she has this whole idea of just having fun and letting loose. But I mean, her people adore her, and so they keep electing her to the seat of power on the council. But it's by her nature that she's very explorative. She's very out there, and so her duties on the council, which require her to stay in the capital, which is very far from her territory most of the time, really kind of puts her down. And so she, maybe, when the adventurers come knocking, looks at the adventurers as kind of like a way to escape, as a way to get out and to do something crazy. And so maybe she'll hire the adventurers on a quest to go and help her escape. Maybe she'll have the adventurers fake her death and secretly take her out of the capital so that she can go on a boat ride or hold a fair in her own territory. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there is a fair in her territory going on next week. But she can't make it because there's a council meeting. So what does she do? She fakes her own death to try and get there. But she needs somebody to help her. Who does she turn to? The adventurers. And so that would be a very interesting plot point. And you know, I don't know if I'm crazy about what's going on with this right now, but I'm gonna keep doing it because sometimes the things that you're not the happiest with can also come out to be the things you're most proud of. But no, I mean, I'm having so much fun writing all these different characters for my D&D campaign. It's just kind of like the immense weight of having to build a campaign setting. Even though I did the smart thing and I gave myself a month of time and I told all my players, I said, hey guys, I haven't built a world yet, so I'm gonna take some time for myself to build a world. My players are very involved in my lore. They're very involved in their backstories. They want to be a part of the world building process. And you know, I absolutely love that. But one of the things that my players are very ignorant of that I should have a conversation with them about, but about it talking to people about possibly confrontational things, especially possibly confrontational things when my players haven't done anything wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with loving your DM's world or wanting to be a part in its creation. That's awesome. That's amazing. Um, I mean, many DMs could be lucky to have players like mine, so I really shouldn't be complaining. But at the same time, waking up to like 15 messages in your inbox saying, "Hey, Jay, can you help me with my backstory? Can we do all this stuff for my character? Could my character maybe involved with this faction, or would there be a faction that looks like this or does this?" And then I'd say, "Yeah, that seems pretty realistic. I could see a faction like that exist." And then they'd be like, "Oh, that's great. Could you make one for me by the time we start? Just give me the name of it." And then I'll say, of course I will. And so then it falls to me to create like a. I mean, one of my characters is playing a rogue, and he wants an assassin's guild that he can be a part of, and that's super cool. A shadow assassin that, and I mean, like his character's backstory is absolutely fascinating as well. He's a character who was an archaeologist. He's playing a homebrew character, but you can essentially think of it like better assassination rogue, for lack of a better description. But he's playing this rogue character that is it's very tied to shadows and turning into shadows, being able to move in the shadows better, and so um, his backstory is that he was an archaeologist. He was not a ninja. He was not a rogue. He was not even a fighter really. He was an archaeologist, and so he went out to discover new things out in the world. And while he was discovering those new things, he came across something that gave him the power over shadows, a sword that gave him power over the shadows. But that sword came with a bit of a twist to him. It made him want to hurt people. And so he did. And as he was doing so, he got the eye of the people who do that for a living. Because it's a fantasy world, of course people do that for a living. Um, and so he wanted me to create an organization that would kind of oversee his craziness, and I thought that was a very good idea. So now I have to come up with an Assassin's Guild, and so that's and I mean I came up with the name, I gave him the name, but now I have to think of where that fits into the world. And really quickly, I am going to take a pause here because I hear my dog making an absolute nightmare of a racket in the other room, and I just want to make sure she's not getting into anything. So I will be right back. She pulled the covers off of my bed and she is rolling around on it. That is adorable, but frustrating. But sometimes that is what it is. So yeah, I've been I've been dreading my D&D prep, and that's it's not something I ever want for myself is to dread D&D prep because I love D&D. But I also have so many things I want to do. I mean, I'm still animating. I'm doing animation work, so I have those projects that I have to keep on top of. I have a novel that I've been trying to write for. I mean, I've been trying to write a novel for years, but this novel I've been trying to write for the last few months, and I've finally gotten the outline. I think it's amazing. A couple days ago, I was just taking a shower, and I guess it always happens in the shower because you have time to think to yourself. Um, but I came up with this twist, and this twist changed everything about the because the start of my book, for lack of better terms, the start of my book was dreadfully boring. And I identified that, and I said that if this is going to be something I write, I have to come up with a better introduction. So what do? Well, I shower, and out of nowhere, this idea slams itself into my head, where I marry a couple of events that happened in the book, and I rearrange them from the end of the book, or kind of the middle of the book, to right at the beginning. Just that one little change opened up so many possibilities as to why the characters were where they were. Certain introductions happened way faster, certain threats revealed themselves way faster, and the whole thing flowed better. And I went to town. I stayed up until, I mean, this is what borked my my sleep schedule so good, which is why I'm up at 7 in the morning making a map after being up all night, is because I spent from maybe 8 p.m. sitting in bed to like 4 or 5 a.m. outlining this story idea. And I was gonna do horizontal mountains today, and here I am doing vertical mountains. No, horizontal mountains. But no, I spent the whole night outlining, and I passed out. I had trouble sleeping, and then I woke up the next day, and like normally when I wake up the next day, like I'll reread what I wrote the night before, because I keep a laptop right by my bed, and I every night before bed I open the document with either my campaign setting or with my book in it, and I just write a little bit of a nightly habit of mine. And so the next day, the next morning, I woke up because I'd remembered so vividly getting the idea, but like everything else after that was just a blank. And I opened it up and I read through the outline, and I was super compelled by what I read. I was super excited, and then now I have all this work on D&D to do. I have an animation shot that needs to be done by Sunday. I have a class on animation that I'm taking that is that's meeting tonight. Like it's just kind of this thing, right? Of I have so many good things going for me that I want to do 101 things, and then in the middle of that is of course taking care of myself, trying to get to a doctor, trying to see what's up with my brain and with my body, trying to sort myself out and lead a better life. But I mean, that is damn hard to do when every day is so exciting. And so things like the daily map, things like my nightly little writing exercises, just open up so much for me to do creatively. Because like normally I'm sitting around writing all day, or I'm sitting around editing something all day, or I'm sitting around animating something in Maya. Like there is creativity in that, there is joy in that, but there's not the kind that I want, not the kind that I crave. And so doing a daily map it's a nice hard cut from what I need to do to what I want to do. And sometimes it can be immensely inspiring to me to make these maps. And suddenly, from that inspiration, suddenly it's easier to animate, because maybe I can see in my head the way something is moving that I didn't before. Maybe it's easier to write my story because I'll come up with an idea while I'm working on the map, or while I'm talking to nobody. Because I mean, you are kind of your best echo chamber. Sitting around and talking aloud to yourself is a very helpful thing for you to do as a creative, even if it does make you seem not the slightest bit completely and utterly insane. But we don't have to tell anybody about that. But as for what we're going on with the map right here, we are just cranking out mountains at this point. We haven't gotten to a single tree. It's been 30 minutes. Look at this rocky and craggy mess in front of us. All of this mountain done in small hills looks significantly less imposing than the massive thing here, big lobster claw down here. I like the shape of it. And you know, we're just gonna speckle this with that. And I mean, I'm trying to think here of like if we look in the world of trees over here, like what tree would fit? And I think like these trees are what fit. But I don't know if trees fit this map, you know? If we go the pine tree route, we just coat the world in pine trees. Excuse me, I'm not sure if they fit really. Maybe once every little while here we'll get like a little nest of trees, but I think the real thing then, the other question to ask is, do we add color to this? Do we take this? Do we take our forest? Do we fill it? Whoa, that actually looks really good. And then maybe we go to filter. Maybe we filter out everything except for mountains. And maybe the mountains, we want those to be a bit of a brown. So we're going to go to a dark sand and we're going to fill those in. It's a dark brown, so maybe the dirt. Whoa, those are a little too dark. Anything lighter than that? Maybe a light gray for the rocks. Something darker. Even darker. Yeah, there we go. Now that looks like something. But I'm not a huge fan of the ground being the color it is what it is. And I think with the color, because like look at that. Does that not look terrible? I was gonna say, does that not just look so good? But I realized it looked awful. Maybe a deeper green. You know, maybe we do something that we've been doing for the last couple days, which is a very vibrant color. No, that looks awful. That looks terrible. Go with a white. That burns my eyes. I'm sorry for your retinas. Dark orange, kind of a sandy color. No. Dark dirt. Nope. And then, like, because this grass just works so nicely, it gives the real indication that yeah, this is grass. This is a beautiful and lively place to be. It makes the outline of the continent pop really hard. So now, is there a world where trees look good? Oh boy, those are dark trees. So let's go to land. Let's go to the paintbrush. Let's go to trees only, and then let's switch to darkness. And I believe if we drop down some trees here, they will be of that darker color. Don't think so, but maybe we do settlements first. Maybe we do settlements first. And let's really quickly, let's grab these foothills and let's I was complaining about how I wanted all the foothills on this map to be facing the correct direction for once. And then, you know what I do? I don't make them face the right direction for once. There we go. Let's go ahead and... I don't know why they have like all these mountains that are cell shaded on the right-hand side, but no hills that are shaded on the right-hand side. It's a little bit frustrating, a little bit confusing to me. And I feel like that'd be something very simple for Wonderdraft to add, and I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry about that. Oh. Alright, doesn't that look good? Doesn't that just look good? Then we're gonna go back to our land, we're gonna go back to our paintbrush, we're gonna collect our mountains, and we're gonna go to, I believe, it was these dark rocks? Yeah, okay, good. So as long as I remember that. Long as I remember that. Back to symbols, back to trees. Well, I think actually what I'm gonna do first. Sorry, I'm a little bit on the sleepy side. Not super sleepy, but a little bit on the sleepy side. Is we're gonna make ourselves some. We're going to make ourselves just a couple cities and towns. Very neat. And take this dark color. Is there like which one's the outline? This one's the outline. So we go white on the outline, just to give it a bit of punch. No, don't want the paint bucket tool. Not what I wanted at all. So we'll click on these little dots. We'll go to 65, which is my default scale for anything dot or dot related, and we will start slapping down some dots. I would love if I could put this on a layer up. So I think there a way to set which? Because like right now it's going under the mountains, and I don't want them to go under the mountains. I want them to go over mountains. Maybe is there like a select filter mountains, zoom out, go every mountain, and then put them on -1. Oh, I can merge all the mountains into one mountain. Is that a good idea? No, that's not a good idea at all. And then now we want to go to the symbols tab, and now if I put this down, it'll be over everything, which is exactly what I want. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to 65, and actually maybe today we're gonna go 55, maybe 50. It's a nice size for a dot. I'm gonna put that there. We're gonna put that there. We're gonna put that there. We're gonna put that here. Where's our settlements at? Where are we going with this? We're gonna put one here. We're gonna put maybe one here and one here, which means that this one's kind of unnecessary. Oh, excuse me. Can I have this? No, I can't because I have mountain selected. How about now? No, now I have nothing selected. Now I have everything selected. So now I can grab that. We can move that over here. Neat. We're gonna move that there. We're gonna move that here. We're gonna move this over here. We're gonna put this in the mountains. We're gonna grab our dots again. We're gonna make a port city right there. We're gonna put a city in the Greenlands here, one up here. Maybe one nestled into the passways here, one down here, one up here. Maybe one of the mountains up here. And then finally, we've got one in here. Of course, we've got one over here, maybe one over here, maybe one here, maybe one over here. And just like that, we've got all these different settlements. Very interesting. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our paths tool. We are going to go ahead and make a new path. We're going to make that path. Path we haven't used. We haven't used this arrow path, but that's a little bit one way, so maybe we won't do that. We're going to make our shipping routes first because we're going to make them very wide. That's very wide. Let's go ahead and make this the same maroon color as our dots, which is nearly black. It's good enough. We're gonna. Oh no, I've screwed it up because I keep clicking the eyedropper, thinking that I can minimize this without doing anything. 10 is horrendously big, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make that like an 8. I start from here. We're gonna go out to here. We're gonna curve that into port over here. Just like that. We're going to have this shipping lane kind of develop off over here. Go like that. And we're going to have another shipping lane go off like that. And let's make it perfect because we can. Let's make it perfect. First things first, let's anchor it into there so that when we do that, it makes sense. Next things next, we're going to go ahead and dot, shrink that down like that. Okay, so that's that little shipping lane. Actually, we don't even need that one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up to 12. We're going to change this to the color of red, like real freaking red. We're going to do that, symbolizing that trade route goes out to sea. And then this one as well. We'll go out to sea this way, and then we'll have another dot colored one going from down here all the way around. We'll merge it in right here. And then we have this over here, which is going to, of course, go to over here. But also, it's going to branch off, and it's going to sail all the way around to here. And then we're going to go ahead, and we're going to grab that same exact red we had on this one. And don't worry if you think all this looks like shite, because you can get a download to one without this, these red dots and all this other dottage. on the Imgur link that's going to be coming at the end of the video. Because I'll publish one with and I'll publish one without all the routes on it and stuff. So we've kind of got this intersea trade route here that goes out to sea. So maybe there's a very large amount of trade coming to and from this island. Maybe this island's a very central island. Maybe this is one island in a large chain of islands. Who knows? And this is just the way that people get around here. Let's look at paths though. So we want to use. Do we want to use a dotted path, or do we just want to use a straight path between? I think we're gonna make use of these paths right here. So red paths at a scale of 5 are going to represent our highways, or highways, you know, the things that go from place to place, really, really far distances, very few interruptions, and we'll fix all of this in the scale of, we'll fix all of this in the scale of running under symbols and looking a bit crap here in a minute, but you just really want to, no, you know what, that wouldn't go that way, that would go, this would go right this way, it would hug like that, and then it would come back up. Why would it do that? Well, if you have a highway, what key thing do you want that highway to have access to? That's right, the port. So this highway is going to curl down here. It's going to go right through there. It's going to go over here. And it's going to curve around the mountains. There's going to be a secret tunnel that goes through right there. Is there any way that I can fix the fact that this is just the smallest bit too long? Is there not a way to do that? You know, it's funny because like Dungeon Draft has some of the things that I wish that that Wonder Draft had, and then Wonder Draft has some things I wish Dungeon Draft had. In Dungeon Draft, the wall tool is exactly how the path tool should act. And you know, we're actually going to reduce the roughness even more. We don't want this to be super rough. We want this to be a smooth ride. In Dungeon Draft, if you want to delete a part of a wall, there is actually a tool to do that. However, in Wonder Draft, if you want to change the specific part of a path, only way to do that I know of is to delete it and do it again, which I think is a little bit on the frustrating side. Alright, so we've got that secret tunnel coming in here. It goes around just like that. And so we've got this one major road that kind of connects everything. I think right away we can identify that there would be a town right down here, over on the coast here. I think that we can identify that, no problem. I think that it would also have one of these. I think we were using size 12. Yes, we were. We were using size 12 in the color of black. And so let's go ahead, click right on top of this other one to get a nice little chain going here. Let's add that shipping route just like that. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So next step is to add the roads that are not highways, and we're going to use these. We're going to use the same color as everything else, and we are going to go ahead and we are going to lay out some roads here. That is a big road. Let's go ahead and kick this down even smaller than this road, which is 5. So we're gonna make this a 4. We're gonna make it a little bit rougher than the highway because it's a bit more off the beaten path, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna curve through the mountains. Maybe you have to get a Sherpa to bring you through those mountains. There's a road off the highway that leads to there. There's a road off the highway that leads to here. There's a road off, well, the highway just leads from there. Why don't you just go to the highway? Now, realistically, if we were going full realism on this, the highway would bend to meet as many of these towns as possible. The reason for this is the economy of motion. If you build a settlement here, why not just build it up here on the highway? If the highway is as important as it would seem to be. And so that's a little bit of an inaccuracy. we're gonna go ahead and just kind of move this here. We're gonna hang that off in here. Maybe we can even take the this and move it down to there, because I think I like that a little bit better. But I mean, the actual answer, the legitimate answer to that is, because it's my world, I say so. Ha ha ha. Goodbye. I think that's the legitimate reason why. I think that's the legitimate reason why. So we're gonna go off this road up here. Or maybe there are towns there. Maybe there are little like wagon towns here that because the inn town is a very medieval thing. The inn town, the town that consists of a couple of inns, a smithy, a cobbler, a stable, and that's just about it. And so you can imagine that at certain points along the journey, because if this is a fairly significant island, if this island is, say, a week to get across, you're going to have to think, well, yeah, you may be able to get here in a day, but your horses will probably be exhausted about here, so maybe you take a stop to rest at one of the towns. Getting through these mountains might be a pain in the ass, so you need to rest here, which is why there's a town there, etc., all the way down. The reason why we don't show those towns on the map is because those settlements are not noteworthy. Is there a town right here? Absolutely. Is there a town right here? Absolutely. Is there a town right here? Absolutely. But on a map level, you don't really need to see that, because you can imply it just by having that fork in the road. Now, of course, if I'm doing a map of just the valley, and I do that, that doesn't make any sense. But if I'm doing a big macro-sized world map, yeah, it's completely fine. And we're going to have to go ahead and move this icon over to the sea, though, because that certainly doesn't make sense. That wouldn't be there. We're going to go and... I mean, the other thing is intersections splitting off randomly from each other, like this and then this. In reality, you would build the road in a way that all three of these paths cross one point. So in this case, it would be the highway coming up a little bit more, then down, and then this coming off, and then that going up. Little optimizations like that are fun, but take, a big brain and a lot of thinking, and some days some days are not big brain days. Some days are little brain days. And today's feeling a lot like a little brain day, if I'm being honest with you. And you know what I should have also done is drawn over symbols, because that would have solved a lot of my problems here. That would have solved a lot of my problems if I'd drawn over symbols. So I do wonder if I can select this and then... Well, what's the point? What's the point of offering me this option if selecting this has no sway over what's going on here? That's a little frustrating. I think everything's connected with roads, though, and that's a good thing. So now we're just going to go back and we're going to go to our symbols tool. We're going to go to our selection tool. We're going to only select mountains, because that's the majority of the things that are screwing with us. And we are just going to gently incentivize the mountains to not get in the way of that path. So a question, if I drop this even lower, will it go underneath the path? No, it will not. That's frustrating, because moving that out, move this kind of like here, move that there. This is the mountain that we moved originally. Move that here to kind of fill the gap. Move that there, and suddenly we have a path going through the mountains. Perfect. Move that off of that. Move this over just a smidge. And now from up here, you can totally see how they would get through those mountains, even if it doesn't seem like it's passable terrain. We're just going to move that in to show that path there. We're going to take the symbols as well. We're going to move this symbol over here. While I have the brain to do it, we're going to put this over here. We're going to put this down here. Just connecting all of our dots. These hills can easily be moved from one side to the other just to kind of make way. This area over here can make way. Give a little bit of a... Put them right on the hash marks and stick hills right in the middle of it. You can kind of see the path going through those mountains, and it makes a bit more sense. There's no way to kind of easily convey that over here. These hills you can just move to to one side or the other of this path. These hills we can just move down like that. These hills we can move down. These hills we can move up. Other problem spots. This right here certainly needs a bit of cleaning up, so we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and scale it down. We're going to just be moving things ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. I hate the fact that there's this large jutting thing on the side of this. We can actually shrink it, nestle it back in its corner there, and then we can go ahead and we can rearrange some of these, something like this. Everything will look better when we zoom back out, so we can grab that and put it over there, and suddenly that looks like a much more feasible path through the mountains than it did even moments before. Except for this mountain. He was being a pain in the butt. So you know he's going right over the road. Maybe there's a tunnel that goes through there. This goes down a little bit. This goes over, over, and over. Just kind of show the road. That looks good. That looks good. Everything else pretty much is a done deal. Everything else seemingly is a done deal. Look at that. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to our water tool. We are going to go to our draw water tool. We are going to go to specifically our brush tool. If we go like this and then fill, will it change everything? Yeah, okay. Okay. This is the freshwater brush. Oh, there's that bird again. Hi, bird. Yes, I understand. You're very frustrated by something. Okay, we're gonna turn off river source fading. We're gonna make our rivers. God, that freaking bird! Stop, please. That's interesting. Alt scroll is the roughness. Control scroll zoom. Shift scroll. Oh, shift scroll changes the image. That's good. God, I'm gonna kill that bird. Bird! Bird! Ah! Freaking bird. Alright, let's close this up quick before you have a aneurysm because of birds screaming. Or before I have an aneurysm because of birds screaming. See, I'd love to rotate the lake. Is there not a way to rotate the lake? Like double click? No. That doesn't really work for me. This works for me, however. Kind of having a big square lake like that. And second thought. You know what we'll do? We'll just kick this up to 8. We'll start in here and we will... Oh, we're just gonna... That's the ticket. I always like to hug the settlements with the river. It just adds so much realism to the things that are actually built. The question is, does that look good? And I think the answer is, quite frankly, no. I don't think that this is a... Jesus. Okay. Tempted to leave it here because of birds and your sanity and mine, quite frankly. I kind of want to go out there and shoo them out of the tree that they're sitting in. But speaking of trees, we still have some to add, so let's try and power through the frustration of birds. Oh, you know what sucks? You know what really sucks? Because we put all the hills on a layer below the trees will never hide behind the mountains now. Whereas normally in Wonderdraft, they're very fantastically designed to kind of fit in the nooks of trees. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the placement density about the same. We're not going to go crazy trees today. Maybe tomorrow. Nah, tomorrow I'll do a dungeon map. I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood for a dungeon map. But we're just going to go ahead. We're going to paint some patches of trees. Oh, no, can't put trees there because of the problem I created by moving all the trees to the wrong layer. Why did I do that? Right, the icons. So there's actually a better way to do this. So we can go to the selection tool. We're gonna go ahead and select the symbols. We're gonna select all the symbols, and we're gonna go ahead and move these to +2. We're then gonna go ahead and we're gonna select the mountains. We're gonna select all the mountains, every single one of them, and we're gonna move them to default. And what that will do is that will fix all of our problems, because we created problems unnecessarily for ourselves. And now we're going to take our time and we're going to solve those problems. And that's kind of what we got to do. Okay. So, we've got these crazy trees going around this little fork in the road here. Yeah. See, now we can play a lot more fast and loose with these trees. Get a really good look out of very few movements. We're going to speed run trees. Is it possible? Anything's possible. So, let's just go ahead and scatter these trees into the mountains. You see that green poking through? It's super cool to zoom out and see trees in the mountain ranges. Now, since this is kind of like an artist's rendition of what this area looks like, not actually what it would look like, I would think that the artist wouldn't draw trees near the roads, because it would make the roads more confusing to see. So we're going to outline the roads in trees, and then when we get to areas that we want to be densely forested, and as you can see, I really want to pick this pace up because I don't want you guys to have to listen to those birds just scream forever. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make a denser forest here. This whole area here needs to be tree, which it is. Okay, cool. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move over here. And we'll make this whole area tree over here. We're just going to nicely paint in all these trees down in the south, because usually my dense trees are in the north of my campaigns. I'm not sure why. We're just going to go fast and loose, and we're going to paint these trees. I'm going to ignore that bird. Once again, screw myself over by not releasing the mouse button enough and doing something that I don't really want to do. That's okay. Just got to be careful around the symbols. Got to be careful around the roads. But this is coming together. Everything's coming up tree. We can oh, that doesn't look right. We can highlight this little mountain pass here. You know, I think I'm gonna have my D&D campaign kill a bird as their first enemy. Is kill a giant squawking crow sitting outside the inn window that they're meeting in. Be a very therapeutic session for me. Okay. Almost done. Once we've colored this in with trees, once we've recolored the trees, because I think I want to actually lighten them up, make them kind of fit the pastel color of the ground, then we will be well on our way to being well on our way. Calling it quits for today. It's a bit of a rhyme for you. Unintentional. Or was it? So in this area over here, we want to be more tree-centric, so we're just going to pelt that with trees. We're going to trace over this way, trace over this way. Great, and now, if you'd believe it, construction has just started work right outside my window. So, not only will we be competing with the birds, but if I had to guess, very soon we will also be competing with power tools. And thus the quality of daily map just keeps getting higher and higher and higher as we go on. And you know, we've used pine trees for everywhere, but maybe somewhere on this island there's these carnivorous trees, these not so pine trees. Just realized these trees are taller than the mountains, so maybe they've been here a while. Who knows? Yep. Don't have time for large morals or life lessons. We have time for trees and getting headaches from birds. You know, maybe we get cheeky and we put some flowers on there. Nope. We're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna paint this this whole area tree. Paint this tree. We're gonna paint that tree. You get a tree, and you get a tree, and everybody gets a tree. Okay. Awesome. Well, if I can get a word in edgewise over the cawing coming from outside my window, thank you so much for watching. I've been Jay the Silent Cartographer. It's been a pretty long daily map at around 1 hour. I think it was a lot of fun. If you'd like to download this map for your own personal, not professional use, you can download it in the description from Imgur, Imager, whatever you want to call it. And I will see you guys tomorrow for map number 13. I hope it's a good one. Yeah, I'm going to end this before these things blow out my eardrums.